What's up, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So we want to do a comparison today of Tag Heuer's first smartwatch to a bunch of the other Android Wear devices on the block. Just because we want to show you what you get, or maybe some of the differences between a $1,500 luxury smartwatch and your sort of average or just regular, normally priced Android Wear watch, which could range from anywhere from $300 up to $500, $600, $700, even $800, depending on the model. It's one of those things where we're still deciding if this is something anyone should ever consider spending $1,500 on a smartwatch. We all know the smartwatches and phones and just technologies like that get outdated pretty quickly. So is that kind of money ever worth spending on this? I don't know. I would imagine most people would argue it's not. Tag's doing some things where if you do buy this watch, you're sort of buying into Tag's ecosystem, and in a couple years when the warranty's up, they'll let you spend another $1,500 and get an actual real watch with a Swiss automatic movement, part of their Carrera line. So you can sort of look at it as an early investment into getting into Tag watches if you want. But either way, it's still a $1,500 smartwatch. So anyways, we're just going to do a quick comparison of some of the most popular of the day. We're going to start actually first with the original Moto 360. So original Moto 360 retailed, I believe, originally for around $250, which we all kind of thought was really high, and we thought it was going to fail and all of that stuff. Turned out to be a pretty nice watch, and I think most people's favorite from that first round. Now you can actually buy this thing for $99 on the Google store, which is crazy. But it's hard to compare it to the Tag because it has just ancient parts in it at this point. That OMAP processor they used was ancient to begin with. But it is round, and it was sort of the first round watch, and has that really minimal aesthetic with no lugs, which was quite a cool, unique look. So anyway, it's just sort of how it compares here. But let's move on to the modern stuff. So here's actually the new Moto 360. So this is the 42 millimeter model in gold with a leather band. Now they also make a 46 millimeter model, which is equal to the size of the Tag. So here's the two 46 millimeter models. You can see those side by side. So in terms of price, again, the Tag Heuer watch is $1,500, and this is the only version you get. There aren't different versions or custom pieces. Well, you can customize, I guess I should say, you could choose different colors for the rubber band, but that's sort of it. With the Moto 360, you start out at $299, and actually the $299 price is for the 42 millimeter model in silver with a black leather band, I believe. You can go up as high as about $500. If you go 46 millimeter, gold casing, gold gold band, you can actually get up to $500. So even the maxed out Moto 360 custom design basically by you is only a third of the price of the Tag. So you get a round display. You have a Snapdragon processor in here with 512 megabytes of RAM. With the Tag, you have that round, fully round display with no flat tire at the bottom. No heart rate sensor, but it has a new Intel processor that no one else is really using. And I also believe it has a full gig of RAM. So you've kind of got it maxed out in terms of specs, which is a good thing. They're also just completely different in terms of looks, right? With the Moto 360 sort of have that classic timepiece, more dressier piece, where the Tag is really sort of a sport looking watch. It's got a rubber band, it's got angles, it's made of titanium. So it's just a completely different look and feel. I will show you these on wrist just so you can see. So there's the Tag on wrist. And here is the 46 millimeter Moto 360. So both quite large. 46 millimeter is just too big for me. So I wouldn't necessarily choose either of these sizes. I actually did choose the 42 millimeter Moto 360. So you can just see right there the difference. All depends on your wrist size, what looks good. In terms of packaging, we went through the packaging of the Tag watch yesterday and showed you that whole experience. With the Moto 360, you obviously don't get quite the packaging experience, but you do get this sort of rounded box, and it comes with a charger, and it's nice packaging, but it's not the over-the-top stuff you get with a luxury watch. But if you want something that does sort of come with that experience on Android Wear, you do have the Huawei Watch. So the Huawei Watch, I would argue, is the closest thing, or at least experience, to what you get with this Tag watch. While they are designed completely differently and completely different types of watches, again, the Huawei is a lot like the Moto 360. It's sort of a dressier style watch, whereas this is way more casual. But in terms of pricing and experience, the Huawei Watch is there. So it comes in a base model that costs $349. $149, which is the silver casing here, stainless steel casing with a leather band. If you go with this Milanese strap, or I believe there's just a silver band as well, you jump all the way up to $400. There's a black model that's $450, and then there's going to be an all gold model that's actually $800. It's still not available, and I'm starting to wonder if Huawei is actually going to ever make it available, but they are making one that costs $800. And so Huawei's kind of been upfront in the fact that they don't really think this watch is for everyone. They want it to be sort of a luxury timepiece. And so they've actually done a pretty good job of making it like that. I mean, when you hold this watch, it actually kind of has a little weight to it, like a nice watch would. And it actually looks like a really nice watch. So specs wise, you've got a higher resolution display actually over here on the Huawei watch. It's just a 42 millimeter case, but the resolution is actually 400 by 400, whereas on the tag it's actually 360 by 360. So bigger display here and less resolution. So the display on the Huawei watch is about as good as it gets. But you do have, the same Snapdragon processor and 512 megabytes of RAM in the Huawei watch, just like you did with the 360, whereas the tag has the new Intel and more RAM and all of that stuff. So kind of some different upgrades. And again, they're just totally different styles of watches. And I'll show you these on wrist as well. So tag on, and then here is the Huawei watch. The Huawei watch is just a really classy looking watch. Huawei did a really nice job with it. But if you also want to compare, so packaging wise, Huawei's actually done something that is similar to what luxury watch brands do. You can see they've got a really nice box with, all of their branding and things like that on it. And you open that up to another box, which is sort of coated in almost like a faux leather soft. It's got Huawei branding. And then you open that up, it has a watch pillow, which is all sort of this leather feel. They've got branding and stuff on the inside of the box. You can lift this up to get to additional information and cards and all of that stuff. It really has sort of a luxury watch presence about it. So if you want to compare the tag, it's probably fairest to compare it to the Huawei watch of them all. I'll take it off one more time. So if we jump out of Android Wear though, but again, the Huawei watch goes up to $800 maxed out. This thing is still $1,500. Anyways, here's Samsung's Gear S2. So obviously much smaller. It is similarly styled though, in that it has that sort of sport look with the rubber band. Samsung is making a Gear S2 Classic that also has a rotatable bezel, but it has sort of a little bit more classier, classic timepiece look, a little more dressy. This is sort of the sport version of the Gear S2. This watch is $299. And so it seems a little odd that a watch with that costs $299 has a similar style and look to this tag, is just that much cheaper. It also has this really unique rotating bezel, whereas the bezel over here doesn't move at all. It's really just there for show. So, the tag is made of titanium. It has Tag's logo everywhere. So you've got that branding. You're paying for the name. You're not necessarily paying for the device. And that's a lot of the time what happens with luxury goods, but it is a little wild to think. So I'll just throw these on really quick so you can see them. But basically like the verdict here is that, Tag, the watch itself, it's fine. It's a big smartwatch. It's a watch made by a luxury, regular Swiss watchmaker. And they're jumping into the game. They're putting their name on it. So they're throwing a big high price on it. Should you buy this? Or how does it compare to all these other ones? Obviously it's a personal taste thing. A lot of times when you buy a watch, you buy it based off looks and brand and things like that. So if you like the look of this and you're a fan of Tag, it may be an option. Tag makes a smartwatch now. If you want to save lots of money and still buy a really, really good smartwatch, there are so many other options out there. The Huawei watch and Moto 360 are two we would certainly recommend. They're both great watches. If you don't like Android Wear, you have the Gear S2. If you do like Android Wear and you like Tag and you like spending $1,500 on smartwatches, this is clearly there for you, with the option later to buy in even further for a real watch. So anyways, just been a quick comparison. If you guys want us to compare this to anything else, we can certainly do that. Our full review will be up shortly. It's pretty easy to review these watches these days, especially since this one's really just about that price and what you're getting for it and the value there. So anyways, we are Droid Life. We're out. Peace.